smile until it goes off. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Game Audio Hour. It's our weekly podcast. We discuss all things game audio, from creative ideas, to latest techniques, project experiences, to audio secrets. Here's where you find your in-depth coverage and opinions related to game audio. And this is 114, isn't it, Vince?
114. It's a wonderful number, that. And yeah, it's going to be a great show, I think. Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Mike, how you doing?
I'm doing really well. I am just savoring the memory of those tri-tips from the first annual Game Audio Hour barbecue yesterday. It was just an amazing experience.
That was fun. And unfortunately, we couldn't get Leonard down here from way up north. How you doing, Leonard Paul?
Yeah, things are good. I live in Vancouver, Canada, so it's quite north here. Just went on a hike today, so it's kind of nice. There's it's still good weather. It's not snowing or anything. It actually only snows about maybe 1 week out of the year here, so it doesn't get super cold here really. So
that's amazing. I had no idea.
Yeah.
People can tell our special guest is Leonard Paul. We're going to talk about his storied career and lead our ways up to the soundtrack for Beep, which I think we all are super excited to see come out. We're all kickstarting that, aren't we?
Mm-hmm. I'm just needing.
Yeah.
I just hit the gimme button today. If you kickstarted it at the level I did, you get the free soundtrack. Mm-hmm. And Leonard set it up on his Bandcamp page, so you just put in this your code and hit a button that says gimme.
I have to point out that the film is having its Los Angeles premiere in about 50 minutes, if I'm not mistaken, which means our dedication really isn't so great since none of us are there at the premiere.
Oh, no way.
We're just here talking about it.
Well, Leonard should be there. He should be conducting the orchestra.
It's true. I should be down over the pit there. But I did bring my my little hoodie. I've got to see this there. This
awesome.
Little hoodie. Yeah, it's very cute. Beep there. Let me see if I can get that. Beep.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's cute. It's cute. So yeah, Karen was really good about making sure that we got some swag and stuff. And yeah, so I did go to the premiere down in San Francisco, like GDC, I guess. Well, I mean, that was in March. But yeah, I wasn't able to make it to LA this time. I'm actually going to be going to Europe for 3 weeks. So I didn't quite have any time to get down there. So.
Oh well, I was just joking. I didn't expect. Sorry.
Normally I'm at because with the game SoundCon and then also with the AES, it's great to get down there and hang out with people. But this is just too crunched. I got plenty of stuff to do, and I'm leaving within a week. So yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Just a personal trip to Europe?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 3 weeks. Just sort of start in London and then sort of end up in Barcelona.
Oh, that's a good trip. There's a lot of good wine and beer in between London and
Yeah, I know we're going to be hitting, basically Buddy's place in Munich during Oktoberfest, so that'll be pretty funny.
Great. Take the train. That's my advice. Don't drive.
Yeah, I think that's the idea right now, so yeah.
Let's start at the beginning, man. Are you Canadian? Were you born and raised there in Vancouver?
Yeah. Oddly enough, I'm 100% Canadian. So basically, I was born in Vancouver, and I've been here most of my life. But I like to travel around, so I did sort of a year in England, and I mean, I've sort of moved around within Canada a little bit, like on the west coast here. But yeah, basically, I have did my university education here, and I've also done my career here. So EA had. And I think still has one of its biggest studios here. So EA Burnaby is, and I think it's called VA Vancouver now. But anyways, I started there way back in '94. So similar to you folks, I mean, we've been doing this for a while. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was super fun, and it's still neat to go back there and see all the changes that have been made. So
I bet. Now, did you go straight game audio from the beginning, or were you in some sort of other discipline?
No, oddly enough, I was doing computer science. So I started out doing the tech stuff, doing programming, and I have a degree in computing and also in music. But I really wanted to do video games because it seemed like such a great match of combining sort of audio with coding. And so within sort of 2 years of doing my degree, I got a internship at Electronic Arts, and so I did programming there for a while and some QA stuff. And I actually started out more so doing graphics, and then then the second time I did a internship, I was at Radical Entertainment. So that was where I was working on audio tools at that point. And then I guess 5 years down the road, I sort of moved more into content and stuff like that.
Oh, that's great. What was your first game?
My first game, oddly enough, oh geez, no. Let me think now. First game was FIFA Soccer, actually. The first FIFA 95. So it was called FIFA International Soccer. And so that was for the Sega Genesis. So that was way back in the days of like burning EEPROMs.
Oh, yeah.
There's a certain smell that EEPROMs make. So I was sort of doing quality assurance and I did a little bit of programming on the next game, but that one I was more so doing quality assurance on. So I was playing that game forever based on the Sega Genesis. And it came out, I think, on other platforms, but I focused on the Sega Genesis version. So that was my first game. My second game was NBA Live 95. And with so with that one, I did a little Easter egg in that one. So I did a whole section where if you lose the finals, you go golfing. So I did all the graphics and stuff on the Sega Genesis. And so I actually did put some game audio in there. So that was my, sort of professional start in game audio, was coding for that. So yeah, that's how I got started.
That's fantastic. I know a guy here is pretty awesome at double dribble.
Nice.
Right, Vince? Come on, Vince. Speak. So we just had our first annual game. I always do that gang barbecue. I'm trying to co-opt Tommy Tallarico's thing. I love the gang barbecue. Ours was fun too, though. But it was the game audio hour barbecue, which somebody dubbed the barbecue.
Barbecue.
He was nice. He was nicer about it than I am. I just like saying "guh" for our initials. Anyway, so leading up to it was a major double dribble challenge between Vince and Chase. And there was no need for referee. It was a smackdown. Vince just, I think Chase got chased out of the room. Chase even went outside and called somebody on his phone. I thought maybe it was like a coach or somebody to give him some support.
Phone a friend.
Vince. Yeah. So are you into a huge basketball game guy, Vince?
Well, I love basketball games, but I actually love a whole lot of sports games. I was a big fan of EA's. They did NHLPA hockey and obviously the Madden games. I mean, I'm American. I gotta love my football, right? It's in my blood. I love my sports games, and that particular game, I think we just mentioned it in a previous episode, and Chase, the ardent viewer, ardent listener, he picked up on that and said, okay, we need to test out this guy's skills.
Yeah. Well, did you play, what was it? It was NBA 95? Is that what it was called, Leonard?
Yeah, it was NBA Live 95. So that was the first NBA live game that came out of EA. So yeah, it was a couple of firsts, and then I've been working on games off and on since then. And then the most recent one is basically Retro City Rampage, and we're working on the sequel-ish to that, which is called Shakedown Hawaii. So that'll be available on, I don't know, every platform under the sun. I mean, Brian, the coder for Retro City Rampage, he's huge with that. He just, he's an amazing coder, an amazing marketer, and just puts things out on every single thing available, including DOS. So,
wow.
It's kind of amazing that, you started out working in the 16-bit era of console video games, and then now with CDs, with PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2, and now your latest games all have that very retro aesthetic. And it's not just a retro aesthetic, but Retro City Rampage was very authentic to what was possible on an NES and the systems at the time. I imagine Shakedown Hawaii is going to be the same?
Yeah, we're looking, as far as the audio standpoint, we're looking at sort of 16-bit-ish stuff. So right now, working with a lot of Sega Genesis. So there's the programmable sound generator type stuff that's sort of the typical waveforms, but then it's also got the FM stuff, and you can do a bit of sampling as well. So we're going to sort of combine those in and sort of create at least in the sound design, create stuff that could be sort of played on the Sega Genesis. But as far as the soundtrack, I think Brian wants to be a little bit more open with it, and so he's looking at doing stuff that, similar to Hotline Miami, where it's sort of sort of synth core, whatever that kind of stuff is, where it's just, it's sort of synthy, or 80s or more so 90s kind of stuff, but all, stuff that is of that time period, but not necessarily, that would play on that particular chip.
Yeah, that's really cool. It's interesting how we go through these cycles of nostalgia and retro, and I guess the Genesis was more than 20 years ago now, and yeah, PSG and FM. It's a wonderful sound, actually. I really enjoyed it. I love the sound of the Genesis, and some of my favorite composers really eked some wonderful sounds out of it, and then seeing a modern treatment of that's actually really exciting.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to sort of nailing down the details and stuff with that. So yeah, that's what I'm working on these days is that game. And then obviously I've got my school as well. So I have the School of Video Game Audio, and I help train people learn more about game audio and an online school. And yeah, and then I just do education stuff. So I sort of do talks at different places. And yeah, similar to you guys as well, just sort of try and help people out so that it's just so that they get access to the information, because it can seem kind of daunting when you just start out, right? So
yeah, it's definitely really daunting. There is so much stuff out there that you're not sure where to begin or what stuff is really important. So what do you think when you are with someone who has absolutely no idea about what's going on? He's not an experienced sound guy or a programmer or a designer, but he has that love and passion. How would you actually start him off on his path?
That's a great question.
Yeah, and I guess also it's good also just to reframe the question. Like it could be, guys or girls or, boys, men, females,
Certainly.
All that. I'm just saying from a wider standpoint. But yeah, like I basically just approach it from like I find out what they know in audio, and then I try to produce analogies and just say like, okay, well, you know how to use, say, hopefully at this point, like Reaper, right? Like, this audio tool, or how to use this particular set of functions. Okay, let's like, just recently I was working with a student. They're like, they were in my FMOD course, and he was asking like, okay, how does like the sound bank work with the game? Do you actually like, does FMOD go in there like all with the graphics, like the way that you work with the interface and stuff? And I'm like, no, the sound bank goes in there, but then there's also the code. So FMOD actually does go in there, and it's really similar to like working with a sampler. And then like it's kind of one of those where you have that sort of back and forth until the penny kind of drops, and it's kind of like, oh yeah, like totally like working with a hardware sampler. Like you load up your, like your audio bank full of samples, and then you have to figure out with like your filters and all that kind of stuff, how you modulate that stuff in real time. And that's really what the game engine does, like underneath the hood. So a lot of the times I try and ask the person a lot of questions like, okay, well, where are you coming from? Like, because sometimes people come from film, sometimes people come from theater, at least in my course. And so it's interesting to try and find out, just sort of working with analogies or metaphors to draw them into it, and to have a conversation, and then to allow them to get some hands-on, because that's super important. Like, here's the sound, and then here it is, like, using Wise or FMOD or even Pure Data or, Unity or UDK, and then here's how it is in the game. And like and to get that feedback loop is so important, because then it comes alive for them. So it's neat, even if I can try and do a talk. Like I did a talk at Rensselaer University, and I just basically, or Polytechnic, and I tried to cram that as fast as I could into the 1 hour that I had to say like, okay, here's like, like I think I used Wise, and then here's, like whatever. I basically did like a shotgun sort of sound, like, well, pew pew, like, sort of a cappella style. And let's sample that and then put it in the bank and then reload up the game, and then poof, and then every time you shoot the gun, and when people hear that, they just kind of go like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like you can just change the sample, and then it's like, oh, and then you can also randomize the pitch and stuff. So anyways, as far as the long answer to that, it's sort of, I try to meet people where they are, and then sort of develop a conversation so that they get comfortable with the material, and then sort of like you just guide them to a point where they can just take it from there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's fantastic. How long ago did you start your school?
It started in 2012, so yeah, it's been 4-ish years now. So yeah, we've had like hundreds of students, which is great, from over 40 different countries attend. And yeah, we basically just got 4 different classes right now. So that's Wise, FMOD, Unreal, Unreal is what I want to add. Unity, and then Pure Data are the 4 courses. So yeah. Yeah, so working with middleware right now, and then hoping to add some introductory courses, but it's sort of, yeah, I'm trying to balance it with my own time and with running the school and trying to, so the neat thing is that it's actually my focus these days. So I do work on games part-time, but I'm not working at a game studio full-time like I used to. So I'm lucky that way that I can even travel with the school because it's all online. So I can just log in and help people that way. And yeah, it ends up being just a sort of a nice lifestyle shift for me. So it gives me basically my summers back so I can take off on a Monday and climb a mountain and just sort of relax a little bit. And then if there's a lot of work to do, I can really dig into it and really help people a lot with their demo reels and stuff like that, and help them hopefully present themselves to the industry so that they can find work, and hopefully not just find that first gig, but find a way to get repeat gigs, which is really difficult.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were just talking about that at the barbecue yesterday.
Yeah.
Are you going to be doing a talk at GDC this year?
I talked to, I guess GDC sort of in general about doing just an audio boot camp. So I'd like to just do some introductory audio stuff. So yeah, I think that I'll just do that this year rather than doing a talk. I am doing a talk at MIGS, so the Montreal International Game Festival or something like that, in November, and I'll be talking about using Pure Data and sort of procedural audio type stuff to the people that are there. So that'll be my next talk. But yeah, I haven't nailed anything down at GDC yet. Are any of you guys doing a talk at GDC or?
No talk.
I don't know.
I'm too shy.
Not for me.
Yeah.
Out of curiosity, since there seems to be some overlap with your own educational focus, have you seen what Brian and company have been doing down at Game SoundCon? Have you ever checked them out or spoken or otherwise exposed yourself to it?
Yeah, I have actually. I was part of one of the first Game SoundCons when it was in Pyramide Studios. So that was years and years ago. So I was sort of presenting, I guess, sort of more advanced game audio stuff. And then Brian found another location to work at, which was sort of near there. And then it sounds like he's got a hotel that he sort of works out of, and so he bundles it up with the AES every second year that's in LA. So I've done, I think, 3 of them now. So yeah, the most recent one I did was talking about work that I had done on a small title called SimCell, doing sound design within Pure Data. So that was my last presentation that I did there. But I didn't have time this, because I'm not going down there either. But yeah, I hope to do maybe some talks in the future there as well. But he's got a really good handle on drawing people in and creating a community. And I mean, he's incredibly knowledgeable. So I mean, it's neat that he's really grown this this Game SoundCon into such a big thing that lots of people are really sort of gathering around, because it's almost like it's nice to have a conference that's just game audio, because when you go to GDC, you sort of have to find your little clan around the carousel or in the hallway or something, and that's fun. But Game SoundCon is just game audio. So yeah, he's doing great work there and gets great speakers, and they he has workshops and stuff like that too, and it ends up just being a great sort of, I guess, 2-3-ish days worth of just hardcore game audio. It's fun.
Yeah. So you've mentioned this a few times, but Pure Data. I love Pure Data. I know a few other guys that know Pure Data, but there are a whole lot of people out there who have either never touched Pure Data or don't even know what Pure Data is. So I think it's worth mentioning to the guys who are either viewing the stream right now or are going to be playing this later on YouTube. Tell us about Pure Data and why Pure Data is cool and why Pure Data is important.
Yeah, so when working at larger game studios, they often will have their own proprietary tool set. So that just means an in-house set of tools that allow the sound designer or composer, person working with the audio to easily put their sounds into the game. And the neat thing with Pure Data is that it's sort of a visual scripting language. So there's also similar ones that are called, there's Max MSP, which is a commercial one. There's Reactor, also does sort of that sort of similar approach. But say like at companies like Electronic Arts, especially for like they just recently switched over to it for the latest FIFA game, and it's sort of spreading within EA at this point, is that they're using a tool called Frostbite. And so that's a visual scripting language that's very similar to Pure Data, that uses these object blocks, and it's sort of similar to working with a modular synthesizer where you've got like, here's your, I don't know, whatever, oscillator, and then this is your filter, and then you connect it up with, lines and cables and stuff like that, but it's all virtual. And just learning how to do that kind of scripting is really good for if you want to work at those larger companies, because that's kind of where their tool sets are heading. And so there was a great presentation done a couple years back about how they did the audio for Grand Theft Auto 5. And that was just, it was mind-blowing. They used this tool called AMP that's very similar to, sort of that whole paradigm of visual scripting. So it's, but it was really nice to look at too. And Pure Data is really ugly to look at, but it's one way that I can sort of teach people like, hey, if you want to learn this language, then you will most likely have like, you'll be able to be more sticky within the industry, because they often really want people that are able to do that kind of visual scripting, or like text script. The larger studios, the approach that they're sort of moving towards these days. So I can't teach them how to use like Frostbite because it's not available to the public, nor can I teach them AMP, but I can teach them like Pure Data. And the neat thing about Pure Data, unlike Reactor, is that it's open source, and so it's anybody can download it. It runs really well on Linux, because that's what it's programmed for, and then it also runs on Mac and PC, and yeah, it's free. And once you get past how sort of boring and black and white it is, then there's just a lot of power with it. And so I ended up actually doing the entire score for Beep, like the underscore, using Pure Data.
That's so, yeah, just ending great on that. That's it. The whole score.
Yeah.
That's kind of ridiculous. Like I use Pure Data a lot for some things, okay, I want to do some iteration on a particular motif, and I'll see what happens when I get some variations on that. Or I'll use it, a lot of times I'll use Pure Data for prototyping sound effects. But I gotta admit, I'm not sure I would ever, let's throw everything to Pure Data and then turn out almost 2 hours of score. But that's exactly what you did, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It took a really long time. And that's sort of the bit of the disadvantage of using Pure Data, is because there's libraries that you can use that are basically like, instead of just using the functional, like little tiny, like if you're thinking of working with Lego, it's kind of like you don't just use the little bricks. It's kind of like you get pre-built sets kind of, and then you build off of those libraries, and then you can create sort of more complex stuff easier. And so within my own work, I've created these little libraries, and I also use a lot of patches from Martin Brinkman. So I guess what we can do is we can put like that in the show notes or whatever, a link to his work. But I use a lot of his stuff, which it sounds great. He started out doing stuff for Reactor, and for whatever reason, he's continued to just put out his own free patches that are available for Pure Data, which are really great to use. So I use a lot of those. Yeah, I don't know if I can do, I don't know how do I do screen sharing. I'm just wondering if I could do that. Maybe I could show a little bit of PD.
Yeah, well, we can do that. I'm going to, let's see. Well, why don't I actually start playing the main theme for Beep, because we're talking about the soundtrack and it's made with Pure Data. Let's have that play while
Yeah, the theme is not using Pure Data. That one has.
Oh, it's not.
No, that one.
Oh,
that's
really?
That's the theme music, and so that one I just used traditional sort of DAW stuff, and I also had a cellist play on that. But the underscoring, like if we go to, if you do a search probably just for Beep. Actually, if you go to beepmovie.com and then go to the bottom, and then it's like leonardjpaul.bandcamp.com. Then if you play basically anything except for
anything else, okay, so not the main theme. Well, exactly, how about buckwheat pancakes?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Let's play this.
Ooh, and I can bring up the patch too.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Okay. It's like buckwheat pancakes. album. Oh yeah. Oh, okay, I got the patch.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing to think that this is all procedurally generated, huh? Yeah, so I see you got the patch up there. I mean, can you like walk us through what's going on here? Because it's a pretty complicated bit of stuff here.
Okay. So you got my voice again?
I do got your voice.
Okay, and you got the patch? I guess the patch will be silent, but yeah. Okay.
I am hearing a little bit of stuff. It sounds like stuff from the speakers, I imagine.
Yeah, it might be. Here, let me go back to this. Soundflower, built-in output, go like that. Go, okay, yeah. Okay. All right. So we can hear a bit of the audio, or?
We can hear a little bit of it. It sounds like a little bit of a low drone I can definitely hear.
Okay, yeah, that's okay. Well, how about if you ask me about the patch then?
Yeah, well, I mean, I can kind of recognize what's going on in bits and pieces. It looks like you got like a 16-step sequencer on the left side there, and oh, kind of moving around. I guess these are. I guess there's some timbral stuff that you're messing around with. I was actually going to ask, like, when you say that these things are procedurally generated, how much of it is the notes being procedurally generated, and how much of it is the timbre and the quality of the instruments?
It's kind of a combination. So really, it goes between like well, what I do is I typically make some riffs, like in the 16 by 16 matrix, right? And then from there, I allow the patch just to randomize on stuff. So